the Hollywood Unapologetic Podcast with Orlando Delbert, Filmmaking Essentials.
Today, we're looking at something really exciting. The rise of a new Hollywood generation. It's all about how technology is, well, fundamentally changing who gets to make films and how they do it.
Absolutely. It's a massive shift.
So our mission here, for you listening, is to really unpack the specifics, the tech involved, how it all connects.
The workflows, both physical and virtual.
Exactly. And what it all means for the future, for creators. We know you want the insights, but fast and thorough.
Right.
So we've pulled together perspectives from places like Falmouth University, looked at indie film distribution discussions, and crucially, the VES Handbook of Virtual Production.
That handbook is pretty comprehensive.
It really is. So yeah, let's get into it. This democratization.
Yeah.
Where do we start?
Well, what's really striking is how it's like a perfect storm, technologically speaking. It's breaking down those old barriers.
The gatekeepers.
Exactly. Falmouth University talks a lot about this, how remote filmmaking, for instance, is bringing in more diverse voices, different stories.
And people can actually see them now, right? With streaming everywhere.
Precisely. The reach is unprecedented.
Yeah.
But a huge driver for this new Hollywood generation is just the lower cost. Think about it. No more super expensive film stock. Digital tools that used to cost a fortune are now.
Yeah.
They're accessible.
So indie filmmakers, low-budget projects, they can actually make stuff that looks professional.
Yeah, pretty much. The tech isn't just cheaper. Falmouth stresses it's making filmmaking more inclusive, creatively richer. That's the core idea, I think.
Yeah, inclusivity is key. And it's not just cost, right? Falmouth also mentioned VR and AR unlocking new creative avenues.
Oh, definitely. Imagine, like, fully immersive 360-degree films using VR.
Wow.
Or using AR to overlay digital stories onto the real world. It just opens up whole new ways to engage an audience.
So these new creators, this new Hollywood generation, how are they learning this stuff? Where do they get the skills?
That's a great question. Falmouth's online MA course is a good example of how it's happening.
Okay.
They're not just teaching theory. They're actually using tools like DaVinci Resolve, even AI, like ChatGPT, right in the course.
Seriously, ChatGPT in a film course?
Yeah, exploring its uses. And they give hands-on experience in things like online collaboration, digital cinematography, post-production, and really importantly, online distribution strategies.
Ah, the practical side.
Totally. Students use industry software, Final Draft, Pro Tools, Premiere Pro, and platforms like Film Freeway for festivals.
So it's the whole package.
Right. And there's a real focus on the business side, too. How do you actually make money doing this online?
Yeah.
Digital distribution models, monetization.
That's crucial. It's not just art, it's a career.
Exactly. This new Hollywood generation is being trained as, well, entrepreneurial creators, not just filmmakers.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. You need the vision, but you also need to know how to get it out there and sustain yourself. Now let's zoom in on a specific technology that seems central to all this, virtual production.
The big one.
The VES Handbook really digs into this. Kim Library from Epic Games wrote the foreword.
Yeah, he really sets the stage.
So in simple terms, what is virtual production? How does it help this new generation?
Okay, so the handbook defines it as using real-time digital tech to basically augment or even replace traditional visual effects or animation.
Real time being the key.
Absolutely. Think of it like it gets rid of that wall between the virtual world and the physical set.
So filmmakers can interact with digital environments almost like they're real.
Pretty much, yeah. It's powered by game engines, generating incredibly realistic visuals, like instantly.
Wow.
The big deal here is the immediate feedback. It speeds things up hugely. For this new Hollywood generation, it means achieving effects that used to need massive studio budgets.
They can do it potentially on a much smaller scale.
Right, on their own virtual backlot, so to speak.
That shift from waiting weeks for VFX shots to seeing it happen in real time, that must completely change the creative flow.
Oh, massively. The handbook points out several benefits.
Like what are the biggest advantages for these new filmmakers?
Well, first off, pre-visualization gets a huge upgrade. The quality is so much better, more realistic.
Yeah.
And because it's real time, those previous images can often just carry right through into the final shot.
So you make decisions earlier.
Exactly. Critical creative decisions happen way sooner, which means less chance of having to redo expensive work later.
Makes sense. More efficient.
Much more efficient. And it helps everyone collaborate better. All departments see the vision more clearly earlier.
And you can experiment more easily.
Yeah, you can simulate cinematic design in the game engine, try things out almost like you would on a live action set, but digitally.
So for this new generation, it means refining their ideas faster, more accurately, leading to better stories.
That's the idea. More polished, more impactful storytelling, hopefully, with fewer resources wasted.
Okay, so it's a more agile way of working. The handbook breaks down different ways virtual production is actually used. Can you give us some examples? How might this new Hollywood generation use these techniques?
Sure. A really common one now is using LED walls instead of green screens.
Right, we see those giant curved screens.
Exactly. They display the digital background, but the clever part is the image on the wall changes perspective as the camera moves.
Creating parallax, that sense of depth.
Precisely. And it even casts realistic light from the screen onto the actors and the physical set pieces.
Like in that handbook figure, the motorcycle lit by the wall.
Yeah, figure 1.1, perfect example. It's incredibly immersive. For an indie filmmaker, it means creating, say, an exotic location without ever leaving the studio.
That interactive light is a game changer for realism. What else? Any other key methods?
Well, there's also in-camera green screen replacement. The Jungle Book famously pioneered this.
How does that work?
Basically, you send camera and lens data straight to a game engine in real time. The engine renders the background instantly, and you see the composite shot right there on monitors on set.
Immediate feedback again.
Exactly. And then there's using VR for full immersion, like on The Lion King. Filmmakers could scout virtual locations, block scenes, plan camera moves, all within VR. It gives a really strong sense of presence and makes collaboration easier.
So it opens up worlds that would be impossible or just way too expensive otherwise for these newer creators.
Totally. From augmenting reality to fully creating digital worlds.
The handbook also mentions using LED screens just as chroma key backgrounds, like a high-tech green screen. What's the lowdown on that for filmmakers, maybe on a tighter budget?
Yeah, you can do that. The big plus is flexibility. You can switch between green and blue instantly if you need to.
Right.
But the handbook notes a potential downside. The light quality, the TLCI.
A color accuracy measure.
Right. It can be lower on some standard LED panels compared to traditional lighting or screens. That can make pulling a clean key a bit trickier.
Okay. So you need good measurement tools, like that Sekonic meter mentioned.
Yeah, tools like the C800 help you quantify it. Though, interestingly, it also mentions that higher-end, full RGB LED panels, like ETC's Phos4, give you much more control over the light spectrum.
So you can get better results with the right gear.
You can. It's a trade-off for budget filmmakers. Balance the flexibility of LED with maybe needing better panels or just being really careful with lighting to get clean keys.
Gotcha. Quality always matters. Now, pre-production. Sounds like virtual production is making big waves there too, especially with virtual cameras.
Oh, absolutely. VCams, virtual cameras are becoming standard.
How do they help this new Hollywood generation?
Well, tools like Dragonfly let you do virtual scouting, plan layouts, create previs, even simulate specific lenses. All within the virtual set before you build anything physical.
Like planning the whole movie digitally first.
Pretty much. They're even used on motion capture stages. It gives directors incredible control early on. For this new generation, it's like having a digital sandbox to perfect their vision before committing resources.
And that ties into the virtual art department, the VAD. How's that changing things for creators?
Yeah, the VAD is a really cool evolution. It uses game engines and digital tools to create and manage all the virtual assets, the sets, props, environments.
So faster iteration than building physical models.
Much faster. You can do virtual scouts with the production designer, virtual lighting tests with the DP, all within the engine.
So you build a digital blueprint.
Essentially, yes. For this new Hollywood generation, it's a way to bring really imaginative worlds to life visually, even if they can't afford huge physical sets.
So the digital and physical merge much earlier. Okay, where do all these digital assets actually come from? Is creating them accessible for indies?
Good question. The handbook covers a few routes. Some are built from scratch in VFX houses, using 3D software.
The traditional way.
Right. But increasingly, you can acquire existing models. Or use scanning tech like LiDAR and photogrammetry to capture real-world objects and locations.
That sounds more accessible.
It is. And procedural generation using algorithms to create assets is getting easier too. Plus, markerless motion capture with tools like Move AI is lowering the barrier for performance capture.
So it's a mix of techniques.
Definitely. Even miniatures still have a role sometimes, according to the handbook. So for this new generation, it's about combining off-the-shelf assets, affordable scanning, maybe some procedural stuff, and user-friendly 3D tools. Asset creation is definitely getting within reach.
A real toolbox approach. What about characters? Especially digital humans. How are these new filmmakers populating their virtual worlds?
That's evolving super fast. The handbook talks about smart simulated characters, but the big thing is metahumans.
Epic Games' realistic digital humans.
Exactly. Highly realistic, customizable, and you can animate them using motion capture. It bridges that gap between a real actor's performance and a digital character.
Wow.
And for the environments on LED walls, again, photogrammetry and LiDAR are used to capture real places, but optimizing them so the game engine can run them smoothly in real time is key.
So, lots of potential, but there must be challenges too, right? Especially shooting inside one of those LED volumes. What should this new Hollywood generation watch out for?
Oh, for sure. The VES handbook is clear about the hurdles.
Such as?
Well, the physical size of this stage can be limiting. Then there are technical artifacts. You might get moire patterns on the screen, color banding, latency.
Things that don't look right on camera.
Exactly. Color accuracy itself, gamut and shift is a big one. And practical stuff, like sound bouncing off the hard LED surfaces.
Sound dampening needed.
Right. And even though it's real-time, you often still need some post-production cleanup on the LED wall imagery. Indies need to know these limitations and plan around them.
So, not magic, but a powerful tool if you know its quirks. Setting up these stages must be a huge undertaking too, especially without studio money.
It is. The handbook goes into detail about setting up volumes, permanent or pop-up. It covers design, climate control, power, safety.
A lot to manage.
Yeah, and the LED tech itself. The panels, processors, rigging. Plus, you need specialized crew to run it all. For the new Hollywood generation, it might mean starting smaller or collaborating with established virtual production studios.
Makes sense. It sounds like a whole new ecosystem of jobs. The handbook mentions the brain bar. What's that?
The brain bar is basically the command center for the LED stage.
Okay.
It's where all the tech specialists sit, virtual production supervisors, Unreal or Unity operators, technical directors, LED engineers, motion capture techs.
The nerve center.
Exactly. They manage the real-time rendering, playback, tracking, everything. It's highly technical, highly collaborative, highlights the need for this new generation to have tech skills or partner with those who do.
And the software driving it all? What should this new Hollywood generation get familiar with?
Unreal Engine and Unity are the big two game engines mentioned in the handbook.
Industry standards.
Pretty much for this space. But other tools like Touch Designer and Notch are also important, especially for real-time graphics and control. These platforms handle everything from building the worlds to controlling the walls and tracking. Proficiency in at least one engine is becoming crucial.
Okay. And cameras. Are specific cameras better suited for virtual production?
Yes, definitely. Certain camera characteristics matter more in a volume.
Like?
Things like how well it handles moire, sensor size, sensitivity, lens compatibility, resolution, making sure it can sync up properly with everything else using Genlock and timecode.
Technical stuff.
Yeah, and understanding how the camera sees the LED color, its field of view relative to the virtual set. It all plays a part. The handbook even talks about advanced LED processing to improve the image. This new generation needs to understand these camera tech specs.
And getting the camera's position tracked accurately in that virtual space? That's vital, right? What's the basic idea behind camera tracking for these filmmakers?
Absolutely fundamental. The handbook describes two main approaches, inside out and outside in.
Okay.
Inside out usually means sensors on the camera figure out its position relative to the surroundings, maybe using markers or even markerless. Outside in uses external sensors, like cameras mounted around the stage, to track the main camera.
Different ways to get the same result.
Essentially, yeah. Plus physical trackers using things like optical markers or inertial sensors. Understanding these methods helps ensure that seamless blend between the real foreground and the virtual background.
And color. Always tricky. How does this new Hollywood generation manage color accuracy with LEDs and game engines?
Yeah, color management is complex but vital. The handbook really digs into it.
It's about consistency, right?
Exactly. Making sure the color you intend in the virtual scene matches what the LED wall displays, and then what the camera actually captures. It involves understanding linear light, color processing in the LEDs, the challenges of even photographing LED panels accurately.
But lots of calibration and checking.
Lots of calibration, and using real-time previews in the engine to constantly check. You have to be aware of the color limitations of current LEDs, too. For this new generation, getting a handle on color science in this context is key for professional results.
It's amazing how all these tech pieces have to sync up. What about the traditional roles? Like the art department, lighting, how do they fit into these new workflows embraced by the new Hollywood generation?
Great question. Integration is crucial. The handbook explains how the virtual art department prepares the digital sets for the DP and lighting crew.
So they work together closely.
Very closely. They might do virtual pre-lighting sessions where the DP plans the lighting in the game engine first, and that informs the physical lights they bring onto the stage.
Blending the digital and physical lighting?
Exactly. The handbook discusses using the LED wall itself as a light source for reflections and ambiance.
Image-based lighting, right.
Right, on-set IBL. Plus, of course, using traditional external lights alongside the wall. For this new generation, success really depends on that collaboration between the traditional crew and the virtual production specialists.
Sounds like constant learning is essential. Are there good resources for this new Hollywood generation to pick up these skills?
Definitely. The handbook points out that Epic Games offers specific Unreal Engine training for virtual production.
That makes sense.
And it mentions Unity, too, acknowledging multiple platforms are important. So there are official training paths, plus tons of online tutorials and communities. The resources are out there for filmmakers wanting to learn.
Okay, looking forward. What does the VES handbook see as the future for virtual production? What opportunities lie ahead for this new Hollywood generation?
The future looks pretty wild, according to the handbook. Content creation should get even faster, even more accessible.
Beyond LED walls.
Potentially. It talks about other display tech, maybe light field displays or projection-based systems for even more immersion.
Cool.
Advancements like high-res depth sensing, micro-LEs that could solve some current issues like moire, those are on the horizon.
Better image quality.
Yeah, and things like full gamut color, the role of platforms like NVIDIA Omniverse for collaboration, and of course, AI.
AI is everywhere.
It is. The handbook suggests AI will likely play a big role, and it even hints at moving beyond the physical volume stage eventually. The tech will just keep evolving, opening up limitless creative possibilities for this new generation.
So the tools are getting better, cheaper, more accessible, changing how films are made and who makes them. Okay, so once this new Hollywood generation actually makes their film using these tools, what about getting it seen? What's the distribution situation look like for indies now?
Yeah, that's the other half of the equation, isn't it?
Totally.
Looking at sources like Raindance in that Reddit thread on FilmHub, OTT platforms, streaming services are obviously huge now for indie distribution.
But it's not simple, right?
Not at all. Filmmakers face choices.
Mm.
Use a platform like FilmHub, which takes a commission and, as that Reddit discussion highlighted, might have fees you need to watch out for.
Versus going it alone.
Right, versus trying to self-distribute via their own website, which gives more control but means handling everything yourself. And crucially, no matter which route you take, promotion and marketing are absolutely vital. You still have to find your audience.
So the tools get democratized, but getting eyeballs, still a challenge.
Still a major challenge. Stage 32 notes how tough it is for indies in a world still dominated by big studios.
But maybe virtual production, this democratization, maybe it helps level the playing field a bit. Gives them a fighting chance.
I think that's the hope. That's the potential power here.
Yeah.
And that Cindy article, Trend of the Year, Democratization, really brings it home. It emphasizes this technological evolution, bringing in diverse voices.
It mentioned the convergence of tech, right?
Yeah. Powerful cameras becoming more affordable, advanced smartphones like the iPhone 15 Pro shooting ProRes and log.
Phones shooting pro formats.
Exactly. And AI image generation is part of that mix too, though the debate around its impact continues. The point is, while pro gear still has advantages, the gap is closing. This new Hollywood generation can leverage whatever tools fit their budget and vision.
It really does feel like a new chapter. Technology, virtual production, they're genuinely lowering barriers, empowering this new Hollywood generation with tools and possibilities that just didn't exist before. For you listening, you wanted that quick but thorough understanding of this shift. I think we've touched on the key tech, the workflows, the challenges, and what might be next.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just more people making films. It hints at a potential evolution in storytelling itself.
How so?
Well, as these incredibly powerful tools become commonplace, the really provocative thought is, how will this new Hollywood generation use them differently?
Right.
Will they push creative boundaries in ways we can't even predict? What entirely new kinds of stories, unique voices will emerge from this? And what does that mean for cinema, for audiences?
That's the really exciting question, isn't it? What comes next? Something for all of us to watch.
You can find more insights on navigating the entertainment industry and achieving success in Orlando Delbert's work, including his book, Pollyanna's Tear-Soaked Battlefields of Hollywood, a survival guide against the cynicism and the hypocritical, and of course, the Hollywood Unapologetic platform. And always remember, you are the key to your own success. You are the new Hollywood generation.
Be informed, be prepared, and most importantly, be great.
That's it. Be great. Good luck out there.
See you next time.